What's up everybody, this is Gunter Severloh. This is version 1.4 of my new World War II APCs, tanks, and vehicle variants. Let's go to the editor and we're going to go to virtual reality. Alright, as you can see, there are 9 new variants of tanks and APCs that were created, and I want to go to spectator mode and give you guys an idea of what was done. It's kind of like a little overview. So here we are looking at the variants. So this is a new variant. This is the M4A3 Kangaroo. This is a kind of like an armored APC. The Canadians used a lot of these, so this is a new one. So you can see it has an MG here, MG on this one. This was added in the last update. The next variant is the Stug 3G, and what was done here is I added the MG42, and I'll demonstrate how that works. Here's the same tank except with an MG34. And now we have a new tank variant. This was actually a prototype. I'll put the name of the tank on the screen here if you could see it. It's a different type of tank. It's more of a, there's an artillery version and there's an AT version, and I'll demonstrate that. But this took me about a week to build and put together because of trying to just put all this together. It was tricky. And then we have the King Tiger with the attached MG42. We have a Panther with some added camouflage, as you can see, to the sides and the rear of the tank, plus an added MG42 to the tank commander's cupola, or at least in front of it. Then we have a Tiger 1 with a attached MG42 for the commander. And last but not least, we have a new Cubowagon variant which has the attached MG34. Alright guys, so I have like 16 soldiers under my command. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So if you ever get AI in this is, in my opinion, ideal for co-op, but alright, so
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Get in that vehicle.
Ready. Standing by. Waiting. Waiting. Ready.
alright, so now we'll get the rest of these guys in.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Get in that vehicle.
Waiting. Standing by. Waiting. Standing by. Waiting. Waiting. Standing by.
So you can see the Kangaroo was meant for armored transport. So there's a lot of guys sitting on this tank. Just imagine if you had a unit and you had to transport your unit to the front lines. That's what these were kind of for, an armored transport. This wasn't tricky to make, but quite a few tests I had to do to make it work anyways. But I didn't add another MG because we have the MG here, and then you have the Hull MG that you can get into. Alright, let's take a look at the next variant. The next variant is the Stug with the attached MG42. Now, here's kind of how this works. I had to figure out some coding to get this to work properly, but when you enter as the loader, guy will climb onto it like normal. That's nothing I added, that's just part of the mod. Now with the loader, you'll notice that when you turn out, which is more immersive just to turn out if you do that, the guy is not the soldier, whether you're AI or whether you're the player, is not in the gun itself. He's in the loader position. So what you have to do is you have to scroll your action menu and then get into the MG42, as you can see here. So once you do that, you'll then be in the actual gun. Of course, the guy's back kind of clips through the thing, but it's just, it is what it is. I could adjust that to make it look, you know, move forward a little bit, so it's no big deal there. But anyways, so you can see it's a bit more immersive, and obviously the shield is in front, and if you move your head a little bit, the gun is centered in the hole. So what you do is you just right click, and if you want to see, you know, obviously it's blocked, but just zoom in and your sight will pass that. The gun is fully functional, and there was something else that I did. I had to get a code for this to make this work, and basically to get out of this, you just scroll your action menu and get out. And what that does is it returns you to the inside of the tank. Now by default, if you tried this with attached weapon, it won't work like this. You're still in the tank. From here you could switch to driver's seat, the gunner's seat, or you can basically get out. And this tank with the MG34 is the same thing. You could still get in the driver's seat and then get into the MG34 itself. If you do that, then it breaks the immersion of it because the guy doesn't turn out and the shield doesn't go up. And then of course you have this, which I might find a way to fix that. So ideally you want to be in the tank, in my opinion, for the sake of immersion, and turn out and then get into the gun, and then you'll be in the gun. Now just like the MG42, you know, the gun is centered in the hole, but you can't see it because you're looking through this eyepiece. And then of course you have that, but if you zoom in, you'll get your view is unblocked. Okay. Alright, same thing. Basically just get out and you'll be back inside the tank, and that closes the hatch and folds down the shield. And then you could, you know, from there you can go to the gunner's seat, driver's seat, etc., and or get out. Alright, here is the new prototypes. In World War II, I'm going to put a picture on the screen here. Of what this tank actually looked like. There was only one prototype. It's called a SPG, self-propelled artillery gun, just like these guys. And what I did here is I created two variants. And now if you look at the screen, it says get in the LEFH-18AT and then get in the 18 artillery. So I made an artillery version and an AT version, and I'll show you the difference here. This took me almost a week to build, so it was a little bit tricky, but anyways, basically get into the driver's seat, everything works, it drives normal. So this is the artillery, this is the AT variant of it, and it's nothing spectacular looking. That, like I said, it was tricky to build to try to make it, you know, believable, but it does work. It's mounted on a Panzer IV chassis, just like it was in real life, and the gun that's mounted to it, the LEFH18, it was the actual artillery piece that was mounted on here. So I got two things right at least, and then of course you have the armor that surrounds it. So now from here you can get into the AT gun, and I had to code this. I had to get a code. Ripjaws helped me on this, and basically we added a code where you won't see the gunner, because normally in this AT gun the gunner will be on the outside of the vehicle because that's where he actually stands. So if you go to the first person view, you'll get an actual AT view, and if we fire the gun, you'll get that. So just like the other tanks, if you get out, you'll be back inside the tank, and then you could go to the driver's seat or what have you. Alright, so here we have the artillery variant. What's the difference between the AT and artillery? Now let's get into the gun. Once we get into the gun, if I right click to zoom into the sights of the gun, you can't do it. It just gives you this. You could still shoot the gun, but you're not going to be very accurate. So ideally, you scroll your action menu and you go to the artillery computer. That's what this gun is for. Raises its cannon, and then you can fire. So I just got out of the gun, and let's see, we can go back to the Alright, so this next variant is the attached MG42 for the commander. Now, just like the Stug, basically you might be in the seat where the MG is at, but from here what you want to do is you want to get into the MG42 itself. Now if we go to the third person view, I had set it up just like this, so you kind of do have some cover. You're kind of sitting down low. I don't know, I kind of found this to be more important. The only problem I don't like about this is this. Your guy is going to clip outside the turret. So I might use the same code that I used on the prototypes there, and basically hide the player, because that's what happens. So, but anyways, the MG42 does work. If you scroll your action menu to get out, the commander returns inside his cupola just like the Stug, and from there you can get out of the tank if you want. Alright, so that's how that works. So in the next update, I think I might fix that. This next variant is just the normal Panther with the added bushes for camouflage. Here we're going to go to the driver's seat, and then we're going to go to the commander seat, and we're going to turn out. So you can see, just like the King Tiger, will be in the commander seat. And from here, you just scroll your action menu and get into the MG42. And here. So just like the commanders, the same situation is going to occur. The only way I could fix this is basically hide the character. So that's about all I could do for it. Otherwise, the gun works, everything's attached, and that's just how it works. As for getting out, same thing. Just scroll your action menu and get out, and you'll be back inside the tank. And then you can get out again. I had to use a code to figure out how to get out, basically how to get out of the gun, because normally if you got out of the gun you'd be floating above the tank. So alright, so here we're just going to go to the commander seat and you'll be inside, and then if you turn out like the other tanks, you'll be in the cupola, and then you just get into the MG42. So same thing. And then if you want, you can get out, which returns you back inside and closes the hatch. And then you could go to driver's seat or just get out from there. Alright, this last variant is the Cuba wagon with the attached MG34. Alright, so for this you'll basically just walk up to the gun, look at it, and you'll be in it. And then to get out, I set a code up so that when you do get out, you return to the vehicle itself. Alright, so let's take a look at what was done to these other vehicles. I had to add a code that basically when you got into these things, like for example the searchlight here. So you're in a searchlight, and then when you get out, you are returned to the vehicle itself instead of floating above the vehicle like you normally would. And then if you get out again, you're outside of the vehicle, like which would be natural. Same thing for this, same thing for this, and of course the same thing for this. If we go to this guy, get into the Flak 38, of course the gun works, and you can get out of the flak gun and you'll be returned to the inside of the half track itself. So from here you could scroll your action menu and go to the other seats or just get out of the half track. So I had to set up a code for that, otherwise you would be floating above the half track and then you'd have to step out. That was what the issue was in the previous update. So in this one you can go to the mortar or you can get into the vehicle, like say if you wanted to be the driver. And one of the new features is you could switch between driver, machine gunner, and to the mortar itself. So let's say we want to go to the mortar. You can go to the mortar. So now you're in a mortar. And the thing I want to point out to you is that the mortar had the issue where you would actually see your body. So now you don't see yourself. Because before in the previous, if you go watch the previous video on the release, when I was in the mortar here, my body was clipping outside of the half track. So this kind of makes it more realistic. And when you leave the mortar, you'll be returned to inside the half track. Of course, for some reason this one's not working, but anyways, you could scroll between, and then if you want, you can get out. So I'm going to have to take a look at that one. Same thing for this. You can get into as driver if you want, and then you can get in as Pack 40. And of course, the gun works. And if you wanted to get out of that, you scroll your action menu and you get out, and the player will be returned to the half track. So I chose a certain seat in the half track just to return him to it. So it'd be, you know, kind of immersive or realistic, if you will. And then you can, from there you can get out normally. So that kind of eliminates the floating aspect. But the other one, the one half track, I have to take a look at. Same for this. Basically, I can get in as driver, and then I could switch to the Pack 40 if I wanted to. And if I wanted to get out, what I did for this one is I just made the player get out of the half track itself, because I mean, if you think about it, if this is a realistic vehicle, so ideally you would get in from the back and it only made sense to have the player get out as I just did. Alright, this T-34 with the flak Virling 38, I changed the look of it, as you can see, and as you may notice that there's only one seat, and that's the gunner seat. So if we get in the gunner seat, I removed the other two seats. The gun still works, and that's the way it is. So with this, I added the same code, and basically when you get out, you'll be returned to the inside of the tank itself. So you can scroll your action menu, go to the driver's seat, and basically do what you want and then get out of it. As for this variant, we can get into the driver's seat, and then we can go to the mortar, and as you may notice, you don't see the player just isn't there. So I used the code, thanks to Ripjaws again, to basically hide the player so he's not clipping on the outside. I mean, it's really, you're not really seeing anything anyway. So, and of course, it has the artillery computer 2, and then same with this. If you get out with this, you'll be returned to the half track itself, and then sit down inside the half track. And if you get out of that, you just get out like normal. So that's a new fix. And of course, we come up to the M7 Priest, as it's called actually, and what I did here is the same thing. So if we got into the gunner seat, if we get out of the gunner seat, we're returned to the tank, and you could basically go to the driver's seat if you want, or do whatever, and then you get out again. So it's a bit more realistic, a bit more immersive. Here we have the flak 38. And then if you get out, yeah, the guy's floating on this one, but I couldn't think of any other way to fix this one. I mean, besides, you're just stepping down, so I might just leave that one as is. Here, it's going to be the same deal. You can get out. It should get you out. If not, then you might have to do that step over. Here, you're in the MG42. And if you get out on this, you might be floating on this, so there's really no way of me fixing that one. And for this one, we have the mortar. This one is a bit better. Here you don't see the player's body, so that's a plus. And then when you get out, you're basically out of the back. Here we get into the searchlight, you look around in the searchlight, and when you get out on this one, you are returned to the vehicle itself, and you could be the gunner if you want, or you can just get out. This is the same thing as that one. And then we have the 61K. Get out of that one, you just get out of the vehicle itself, which is fine. Ideally, I would prefer to get out of the back, but that's what it is. And let's go over here. And another part of the update was, you see the box structure that was kind of off-center to the left, and I just recentered that and fixed it. Also, normally with this Churchill, you would enter the machine gunner's, position and the driver's position on the sides, because that's what these little hatches are for. Well, previously, upon release, I didn't have this functional where you can get into the machine gunner seat, and now you can. So now you have that. You really can't see because there's no sights. That's just the model. It has nothing to do with my composition here. So that's the update. You can expect more updates for those who are new to compositions. Basically, when you get a composition, go to F2, and then you go to custom over here, and then at the top will be my composition. You click on the top one, unless you have it on the Steam Workshop, which I do, but this is the latest version. You just click it, and the composition attaches itself to your mouse cursor, and you click and let go, and here you are. So you can see these variants look like the normal tanks and stuff until you get in game. That's because the functions to remove parts and stuff don't execute until you get in the game. So if I play this scenario, you'll see that everything gets removed accordingly. So that's basically it, and I want to thank you guys for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.